Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Welcome in. Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Thursday. It means we're brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Got Jacob Beck and Cassie Spazzali back there on the ones and twos and fired up. You're here with us working towards the weekend. It's a football weekend in South Louisiana. LSU at home against Alabama. The Saints welcoming in the Atlanta Falcons. We're certainly talking about all of that. We have our two guests in the second hour today. Chris Blair will join us at 2:15. And Chris Blair, did I say Chris Blair? I was thinking of Luke Johnson, who's moving back. Luke Johnson at 2:30, Chris Blair at 2:15. I want to talk to you about some of Alabama's playmakers a little bit later on in the show. Does Saints-Falcons really matter? Does this game matter on Sunday to you, the Saints fan? We'll talk about that in 30 minutes. LSU basketball on the men's side got their season off to a great start with a win last night. I'll have some thoughts on that in 15 minutes. So plenty to get to over the next 2 hours. Appreciate you spending it with us. Start the same way every day with our opening drive.
It's time for Hunt's Opening Drive, presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge.
So if you've been on Twitter in the last 45 minutes, you've probably seen the report from LouisianaSports.net that made a change on Saturday night in Death Valley. Well, change back, I guess I should say. According to sources that we have here at Guarantee Media and LouisianaSports.net, we have learned that there is plans to have a live tiger inside Tiger Stadium for pregame Saturday night. Now, this is not brand new news to you. Over the course of the last year, Governor Jeff Landry has said publicly that he would like a tiger to take the sidelines, as was tradition for decades at LSU. Mics over the years were put into that mobile cage and taken inside Tiger Stadium. They were taken around the field, pulled in front of the student section, oftentimes coaxed into roaring, parked by the opposing locker room at times as well. It was part of the tradition of LSU football, and that was discontinued about a decade ago. In 2015, LSU decided it wasn't in the best interest of the Tigers to do that anymore. So with the latest Tiger, which is now Mike 7, they have not done that. And Mike 7 is in that 15,000 square foot habitat across the street from Tiger Stadium. And that's where he's going to stay on Saturday. We have learned over at LouisianaSports.net that the plan is for LSU and Governor Jeff Landry to facilitate another tiger to come in from out of state, be put in the old cage, and wheeled around. Here's the thing. I think that there are some people that are really fired up about this. And I'll be candid with you. When I was 10 or 12, that was really cool to see a tiger roar in front of the student section, to hear that over the PA system. I don't really need it. I don't need a live tiger inside Tiger Stadium. I don't need you to put the tiger in the cage. I don't need the cage to get beat on. I don't need there to be a fake tiger that you wave in front of the tiger to coax it into roaring. I don't need that as part of my game day. Y'all heard me go nuts about uniforms, and I still will. That means something to me. Having the tiger paraded around doesn't really mean a lot to me. I'll be just as fired up for LSU-Alabama with or without it, and honestly probably won't even see it because I'll be doing the pregame show across the street. I just don't care. That's just not on my radar. I'm also not going to sit here and suggest to you that I have a ton of investment in the mental health of some tiger they bring in. There's a lot of things that I have in my bandwidth. I'm locked in on my job. Certainly my family is number one in my life. We got to make sure that the bills are paid. We got to make sure that we're staying employed here. We got to make sure that my kid is safe and healthy. Same goes for my wife. There's a lot of things I care about, and candidly, I care about the results of the LSU football games and the Cubs baseball games. I care about that stuff too. I'm not going to pretend like I'm sort of mortified that some tiger is going to be put in a cage. If that's the way that you feel, that is perfectly reasonable. If you think who cares what a tiger is feeling, I'd like him to get going crazy because this is a football game and I'm fired up for it, that's fine too. I don't really know much about the electoral votes in the state of Minnesota either. Like, there are just some things I know and care about, some things I don't. I don't really care about the Tiger. I think that it's interesting that the governor is so invested in this. But again, it's just not something that's going to really swing me one way or another. As I said at the top, like, to me, I wouldn't do it. I'm good with I'm not averse to LSU having a live Tiger on campus. I think Mike's existence in that facility, 15,000 square feet, having people take care of him, incredible veterinary care over there at LSU, keeping him fed and healthy. And, I think it's fine that you've got a Tiger on campus. There are some people that are mortified by that. But I do, in just in my opinion, like, I don't need him to get into a cage and be wheeled around the field. That's just how I feel about the situation. But Jeff Landry said months ago, like, we're going to get this done, and it appears they're going to get it done for Saturday. Once again, it's not going to be Mike, the one that's been here for 7+ years on campus at LSU, but there will be a Tiger, and he will be in that cage, and he'll be on the field pregame for LSU and Alabama. That's kind of my read on the situation. Beck, you've been in Baton Rouge your entire life. I would imagine you have seen the Tiger and are aware of that tradition. Do you have anything to say about the fact that this is likely going to happen again on Saturday?
I guess it's just about a par for the course for Louisiana politics. Like, let's care about getting a live Tiger in the stadium as opposed to, more important matters. But honestly, man, I don't care for it. I don't care about it either. Yeah. It was cool to see it, but at the same time,
I thought it was cool when I was a kid.
Yeah,
I don't anymore.
Exactly.
I'm 36. I don't need it.
Yeah, I'm okay with us not having a Tiger in there. Like, it's fine. We, if it's pretty cool with all the other schools that have mascots. Like the dog and then Bevo and all that. That's fine. Those are like
Ralphie.
Yeah, that's cool. But
Bugga.
like, Tiger's a little bit different, so let's we don't need it, but whatever, man. It's gonna happen. So
it is gonna happen. And I think there'll be a lot of people that'll yell and scream and say, like, I can't believe you're using funds and time to make sure that this happens, as opposed to dealing with education or the budget or whatever. I have no way of knowing how much time or effort Jeff Landry put into getting a Tiger into Louisiana and into a cage and into Tiger Stadium. He may have had somebody way down the line handle that. He may have spent 4 weeks on it. I have no idea. So without that information, I can't know. I have no idea what it costs to, quote unquote, rent a Tiger. I have no idea if the state of Louisiana paid for it or not. I don't know. So I can't necessarily rant and rave and talk about that. I would suggest there are things in the state of Louisiana that do need to be done a little bit better. And I have, again, really limited feelings on whether or not getting a Tiger to come in for Saturday night in Death Valley is detracting from that in any way. It's just, I think it's going to be polarizing. I think it's going to get a lot of eyeballs. I think that it's going to be a national story. And as I sit here today at 1:08 on this Thursday getting ready for LSU-Alabama, I'd quite frankly rather talk about how LSU is going to deal with Ryan Williams, whether or not LSU can stop Jam Miller, whether or not Jalen Miller is going to run it 18 times or 4 times, and whether or not Garrett Nussmeier is going to get picked off 3 times or throw for 400 yards and not get picked. Like, I'd rather just talk about the game. But I do understand that this is going to be a polarizing thing because there are going to be some people that are going to be very invested in this. PETA is going to make a huge statement about this. There's no question about that. And the state of Louisiana is probably going to take some heat for some of this. I don't think there's any question about that. But I think there's also a large faction of LSU fans that think this is awesome. So you're going to get both. And I guess the way I've talked around this thing, and it's kind of by design because it's honestly the way I feel, I just don't really care. If you put me in charge, there's not going to be a Tiger in the cage. You put a Tiger in the cage, I'm still going to show up, and I'm still going to be invested in the game. I'm going to handle the pregame show. I'm going to watch the game. I'm going to go do the postgame show and write a column for LouisianaSports.net, and I'm probably not going to spend much time thinking about how the Tiger felt when it was in the cage and the student section was yelling and screaming. It's just, that's the way that I feel. If you're in the Bayou Ford chat right now, I'd like to hear kind of your thoughts on it. Hit me on Twitter at HuntPalmer88. I might put a poll out on my Twitter just to kind of check the read of how people feel about it, because I think it's going to be polarizing. I'll probably put in the poll, like, don't really care, and I bet that doesn't get a lot of votes. I feel like most people are going to say, yeah, that's awesome, bring the tradition back, or this is disgusting, like, no chance they should be doing this. I think those two are going to get far more than, yeah, whatever. And I'm in the yeah, whatever camp, but that doesn't make for exceptionally good talk radio. So I guess we'll leave it right there at that. And then we'll come back and talk about a little bit of LSU basketball. That's our opening drive presented by Genesis of Baton Rouge. Every car on the lot at Genesis of Baton Rouge is online at genesisofbatonrouge.com. Does Saints-Falcons really matter? That's in 20 minutes when we come back. LSU basketball scored a big win last night. I was in the PMAC. I'll give you some of my thoughts on that when we come back on a Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. If you're loving your interest rate, but not loving everything about the house that you live in, not in a hurry to move, like the rate, but not thrilled about the way things look at times. How about a renovation? Bathroom and closet can transform your bedroom area. Give you all kind of new room, space in that closet. Gorgeous new shower, bathtubs in the bathroom. David Duvall and his team can handle it start to finish. You don't have to call 4 contractors to get the job done. You just call one. David Duvall and One Bath and Closets. If you think, I don't know about paying for that right now, well, financing options are available for 18 months, 0% if you qualify. Start that process with a free consultation at onebathandclosets.com. You can see pictures of their great work. You can see the satisfied reviews, and you can start that process at onebathandclosets.com, onebathandclosets.com.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2024 Ram 1500 truck for only $32,898. $32,898 for a new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
It's no secret. The best oysters in Baton Rouge are at Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar. Enjoy mouth-watering South Louisiana flavor and oysters from all over the country. And don't forget our nightly drink specials. Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar, located in downtown Baton Rouge.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood Subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Great way to start off the season. As I look at the game, I really liked our defensive intensity, ability to be disruptive there. I thought we did a terrific job defending the three-point line. They had 6 assists, only 14 turnovers. And I thought that was really good for us on that side of the ball. I thought we were able to wear them down some with our pressure. We were really concerned with the defensive glass coming in. Monroe returned a lot from last season and was a top 35 offensive rebounding team in the country. And we got 78% of the misses tonight, which is a good number that'll win for us. And then offensively, I thought when the ball moved, I thought we were really effective. I thought Derek Fountain gave us huge energy when he came into the game and was able to change the pace of the game. But really, really enjoyed watching us play offensively. A few careless turnovers, and I think we're a much better shooting team than we showed.
That's LSU head basketball coach Matt McMahon after last night's season-opening 95-60 win over ULM inside the Pete Maravich Assembly Center. I thought it checked a lot of boxes for LSU as well. He wanted to get a lot of guys in the game early. He did. He got they had basically 11 available players. Tyrell Ward has moved on from the basketball program for the time being. I'll talk about that in a second. And then I didn't know if Derek Fountain was available or not. He didn't play early in the game, but it turned out he was available late in the game and gave him some good minutes. But other than that, they got 9 of the 10 available guys in the game in the first 6 minutes of action. You had a ton of guys play double-digit minutes. Jordan Sears, Jai Bailey, Cam Carter, Rob Miller, Jalen Reed, Victorious Miller, Mike Williams, Curtis Givens, Damian Collins, and Derek Fountain all played double-digit minutes. Only Corey Chest of the scholarship guys did not. He played 3 minutes, had a turnover, and I think Matt wanted to get him out and maybe give a little teaching moment there. But you got a lot of guys in the game, which was important. You were able to put ULM away early. You never let them within 20 in the second half, which I think was good, that you could kind of do whatever you wanted to do because you didn't have to worry about the score of the game in terms of rotations, guys you wanted to feature offensively, adjustments you wanted to make defensively. And then I thought that LSU, I thought the players that very likely will assume a role on this team played that likely role last night. For example, Jai Bailey is not here to knock down a bunch of shots and make high-flying plays. Jai Bailey is on the roster because he defends really well. He's a willing rebounder as a guard. He does not turn the ball over very much, and he doesn't take a lot of shots, but he makes the ones that he takes. He led the A-10 in field goal percentage last year as a guard because he really only takes easy twos, layups, dunks, floaters around the rim. That's really all he shoots. So you think about that role for Jai Bailey, and you think about what he did last night. Well, he was 6 of 7 from the floor. He only shot 1 3. That's the one he missed. So he's 6 of 6 from two-point range. He had 6 rebounds as a guard. He was 2-to-1 assist to turnover. And he had a steal and played some good defense. Like, he did exactly what you imagine Jai Bailey is going to do. He was given the grit belt last night from Matt McMahon for doing kind of the dirty work. I think Jalen Reed and Cam Carter are going to be the guys that LSU asks to score more than the other players on the team. Jordan Sears is in that conversation, but right now I think Carter at the 2 and Reed at the 5 are going to be LSU's go-to scorers, and those two guys led the way with 24 and 21 points. They combined for 45 points, and they shot it at a really high percentage. They were 15 of 21 from the floor. Jalen Reed made all 8 of his free throws, which really impressed me. He was 8 of 9 from the floor, and the one miss was a little bunny that he missed from right next to the rim. So he was really, really efficient. ULM never sent a double team at him, and he just went to work and scored a bunch around the rim. And then Cam Carter was great as far as scoring efficiently from the perimeter. He was 4 of 8 on his three-point shots. He made all 3 of his free throws, and he scored 21 points. I thought was very, very good. I'd like to see the 4 turnovers cleaned up, but those two guys are your scorers. They scored. You're going to see Curtis Givens and Jordan Sears do the majority of the ball handling for this team. Jordan Sears is the starting point guard. He goes out immediately in the first half with 2 fouls. He's got to watch the chicken wing with his offhand pushing off on defenders. He got called in transition for one of those, and there was another one that Keith Richard was really begging for, and I wouldn't have been surprised if they called it. So Sears got to watch that, but he got 2 quick fouls. So Givens played a ton in the first half. He did have a couple of kind of careless turnovers like freshmen do. Tried to hit a pocket pass on a pick and roll to a guy that wasn't there, got his pocket picked a different time trying to dribble the basketball. But Givens was pretty good. He scored 15 points in the game. He did grab 6 rebounds, which you really like, and he dished out a couple of assists. So he's the backup point guard right now. Steers needs to be the man at point guard, but I thought he gave you some quality minutes as well. Rob Miller, I thought, was disruptive defensively. He got out there and created an early steal that Jai Bailey turned into a tomahawk slam. He showed that length and athleticism, and I like the fact that Rob Miller had 3 assists in the game. It's not something I expected to see, but he did do that. So I thought that was really good as well. They've got talent, and they're learning to play together, but they're defining roles pretty quickly here, and I like a lot of that. Some of the statistics that I used in my postgame story for LSU, for LouisianaSports.net. ULM was only 3 of 14 from 3. They made 2 early ones and then hit a circus shot right before the half, but LSU did a great job of running them off the three-point line for the most part and limiting their ability to score from 3. I thought it was fantastic that LSU rebounded 82% of the misses from ULM. They got 31 defensive rebounds on 38 missed field goals by ULM. That's going to play all day long. I love the fact that LSU was 20 of 24 at the rim. The team 2 years ago, I realized was a bad team, McMahon's first team, but they struggled so mightily at the rim. Those shots get more difficult in SEC play than they do against ULM, but they did a good job, 20 of 24 at the rim, and an even better job at the free throw line where they were 17 of 19 from the charity arc. That's great. And so for LSU to score 95 points in a game where they really didn't shoot the 3 well at all, they shot south of 30% from the three-point line, still scored 95 points. I thought that was a very, very good thing. So look, ULM's not great. It's a Sun Belt team. You should run them off the floor. LSU did run them off the floor, but there was some good to look at. You'll see some more on Sunday against Alabama State for a 4 o'clock tip-off. And then you will get your real first dose of medicine with Kansas State next Thursday in Manhattan. Speaking of that game on Sunday against Alabama State, I was in the post-game press conference last night with Matt McMahon, and before he got up, he wanted to be sure that he talked about Sunday's game and just how important it is. He also dished out a special that LSU basketball is running. So I think we have this sound from Matt McMahon. This is what he left his press conference saying yesterday.
Got a big-time recruiting weekend going on, so want to invite everyone to come out Sunday at 4 as we look to go 1-0 against Alabama State.
It's interesting because when you say big-time recruiting weekend, you think, oh, they must have like 4 or 5 like top 50 guys, top 100 guys that they're bringing in, like a big recruiting weekend. No, just one visitor, one guy, Chris Sinak. If you don't know who that is, he's a 5-star New Orleans native. He's gone to boarding school for his final year for basketball development, so doesn't live in New Orleans currently, but he's a New Orleans native, played at Newman for a couple of years. He's one of the top 15 players in the country. He's a 5-star recruit, and Matt McMahon made sure he did not get up from that podium without saying, hey, Tiger fans, we'd really like to have you on Sunday at 4 o'clock. And I'll tell you, if you're an LSU basketball fan, but you're kind of an LSU basketball fan when they're good, and you'd really like it if the program, did a little bit more and were more interesting, not quite competing for championships at the level that football is, that baseball is, that women's basketball is, and you'd like them to step it up, you may be able to make a difference on Sunday. Chris Sinak's going to be on campus all weekend long. He'll be inside Tiger Stadium on Saturday when that place is on fire, and he'll love that. But Chris Sinak is an NBA player. And all year last year when we were watching LSU play, I was looking at them going, they're doing the best they can, and they got to 500 in league play, and that's a solid step in the right direction, but you're not going to go anywhere substantial. Compete for the SC championship. Make a run to the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, to the third weekend of the NCAA tournament. You can't do that without pros. And Auburn's running pros through there. Alabama's running pros through there. Arkansas is running pros through there. You've got to get pros. And I don't know if they have them on this current team, but Sinak's going to be a pro. And if you're wanting more from LSU basketball and you're a fan, go to the game on Saturday. Help create a better atmosphere. If you can get a couple thousand extra people in those seats, it can only help LSU trying to land Chris Sinak. They're competing with some other SEC teams, and it's probably going to go down to the wire, but you're getting close to decision time for Sinak, and Sunday may go a long way towards getting him onto campus. So if you're an LSU basketball fan and you're asking, what can I do? maybe showing up on Sunday for a game you probably wouldn't have gone to otherwise. It's going to be a long day Saturday, long night Saturday with LSU and Alabama. Maybe nursing a bit of a hangover, maybe trying to get to church early, maybe you're just trying to watch the Saints, you're trying to do something different on Sunday. Might want to get to the PMAC. Matt McMahon knows how important this recruiting weekend is, and he wants as many Tiger fans in there as possible. LSU is running a special. If you've got a football ticket from Saturday night, you get into the basketball game Sunday for free. Bring your ticket stub from football, Sunday basketball, in for free. They're just trying to get as many people in there as they possibly can. We'll see how that works out for the basketball program. As I mentioned earlier, I want to get to this before we close out this basketball segment. LSU announced yesterday that Tyrell Ward is stepping away from the basketball program. Matt McMahon said he's doing so to focus on his mental health, and they do not expect him to return to competition this year. Tyrell Ward was really high-level recruit that Matt McMahon pulled in with Jalen Reed in that first class. He has been the best three-point shooter on LSU's team for the last 2 seasons. He shot it at better than a 41% clip last year from three-point range, which is exceptional. He's got great length at 6'6". He's a great shooter. So, yes, you absolutely would rather go into this season with Tyrell Ward on the roster. All of that said, as I look at LSU's roster composition, I wonder how many minutes would be available for Tyrell Ward. Not to say that he wouldn't get on the floor. He would, definitely. I don't think he would start. I don't think he would play 25 minutes a game. LSU brought in transfers with a purpose this year, and they want Jai Bailey and Cam Carter on the wings playing defense. And while Tyrell Ward is an ace shooter, an awesome shooter, he is a subpar defender. He's a one-dimensional offensive player. It's just catch and shoot. And he's not really a threat to facilitate. He's kind of a one-lane guy. And Jai Bailey's the opposite of that. As I talked about with this show, with the opening of the show, like, he's going to get you steals. He's going to get you some two-pointers. He's going to make the right play. He's going to have a couple of assists. He's going to defend like crazy. And a lot of that is not something that Tyrell Ward gives you a ton of. So it stands to reason in this era, when there are other places available to you that you may take on a larger role, you might look in that direction. I don't have any inside sources on this. I'm just going off of what I've heard and watched. And it just feels like Tyrell was probably the 4th guard on this team and may not have been comfortable with that. So LSU will have to move on without him. I still think they're going to shoot it fine. Cam Coleman shot it great in the exhibition and last night. Curtis Givens showed he can knock down some shots. Jordan Sears is a proven three-point shooter in college basketball. Mike Williams can fill it up. Jalen Reed shot 41% from 3 in SEC play last year. So you've got guys that can shoot. You've got some guys that may be a little bit more versatile. You never want to tell a 40+% three-point shooter with a 6'7" wingspan, hey, see you later. And I'm certain that LSU didn't do that. But I don't think this is some sort of crippling blow to the 2024-2025 LSU basketball team. I think they're going to be okay with or without Tyrell Ward. I'd rather play it with him, but you've got a lot of options at guard. They brought in the transfers. They brought in a couple of young freshmen in Givens and Victorious Miller they really like as well. So disappointing to hear Tyrell Ward moving on, but not something I don't think that LSU can't move forward without. So that's my look at LSU basketball last night. Saints and Falcons coming up on Sunday. This is obviously the biggest rivalry that the Saints have, but Saints are without a head coach. The Saints are in a rebuild. The Saints traded their best player away. Does this game still matter? Talk about that coming up next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LeBear's Baton Rouge, make it your game day headquarters. LeBear's Baton Rouge, an awesome place to watch games. They've got the biggest screens around, and now you can eat and dine at ESPN Bet inside LeBear's Baton Rouge. If you're not headed to Tiger Stadium, not headed to the Superdome for the weekend, well, no big deal. You can go watch the game at LeBear's ESPN Bet. You can play some blackjack. You can watch the game from their comfortable seats. You can grab a table with friends. You can wager at ESPN Bet as well. It's all available to you right there at LeBear's Baton Rouge. I'll be there next Thursday for Thursday Night Football. You can be there tonight for Thursday Night Football for Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson, Bengals, and Ravens. Should be a heck of a game. Should be a heck of a time. It's always a great time at ESPN Bet inside LeBears Baton Rouge. Make it your game day headquarters. ESPN Bet inside LeBears Baton Rouge.
When it comes to ending cancer, we push forward, always working together for you. That's why our cancer experts at Ochsner have clinically integrated with MD Anderson Cancer Center. This means advanced cancer care, including access to life-saving clinical trials and integrating care to treat the whole you. Introducing Ochsner MD Anderson Cancer Center. Long live you.
The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you. The only thing scary about the deals at Bayou Ford is if you miss out on them, like $15,000 off F-150. Bayou Ford has $15,000 off Ford F-150. All new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Thursday show is brought to you by Rouse's Markets. Always a great time to get by Rouse's. Do your game day shopping. All your tailgate supplies you can get at Rouse's. If you're heading into campus, thinking, where's a great place to stop and get ice where I know they'll have ice? Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. It's where Matt Musso and Charles Hanniger will have you going on 8.1 game day for pregame this Saturday starting at 1:30. So stop on by, say hey to them. Grab everything you need on your way out to campus. All your beer, all your wine, all your spirits. They got you. All your sandwich trays, meat pie trays, ice. They got you covered there as well. They even got a bunch of chairs and whatnot if you need extra seating at the tailgate. If you're not going out to Tiger Stadium, not going out to tailgate, you can still get your groceries at Rouse's for the weekend. Should be a good one down here in South Louisiana. Got a lot of interesting football action. I want to talk about Alabama's weapons in this game offensively. I'll do that in 25 minutes because I watched the first half of the Georgia game again this morning, and that was pretty scary. It was pretty scary. Now, I also watched the Vanderbilt game, and I also watched a lot of the Tennessee highlights, and it equalized me. I still think Bama's got a really good team, but they were humming in the first quarter and first half of that Georgia game. So I'll talk to you about a lot of their weapons coming up in 25 minutes at the top of hour number 2. But I want to start right here with the Saints and Falcons. I was listening this morning to Jake and T-Bob on the morning show, and T-Bob's got got black and gold running through his veins. Dad's the godfather of Who Dat Nation, Cajun Cannon, and T-Bob's got that running through his veins. And his assertion was, look, this season is lost. You've lost 7 in a row. You've fired your coach. You've traded your best player away. You're still banged up. You're not going to get anything out of this year. But you got to take that interim coach bump and go beat the freaking Falcons. That was basically what he was thinking. And I want to be clear, the point of this segment is not to suggest how the Saints locker room and roster is going to compete on Sunday. Those dudes are looking for their next contract, whether that's in New Orleans or elsewhere, and they're fighting and scrapping and clawing for everything they can get. So I think you're going to get a huge effort out of, well, how should I define that? I think the Saints are going to play really hard on Sunday. You're going to get some tenacity from that group on Sunday. I'm more talking about the fan base. How do you feel about this situation? Because let's be quite honest. Saints fans have not been in this spot in a long, long time. It has been 2 decades since you were at the end of a coaching era and you knew it, and the roster was in this kind of shape, and the season had gone this far off the rails. This has not happened since Hurricane Katrina in that 2005 season. That fell apart, obviously, and you had to figure all that out. But once Sean Payton took the reins, you were pretty good every year, or great, and then you didn't know he was leaving until he announced, hey, we're leaving. And so you haven't been in this situation where you know this team's not going to compete, and there's turnover and transition coming, and there's still football to be played. So it's a new spot for Saints fans relative to the last 20 years. So how does Saints fans feel about this game? My gut tells me most of them feel like T-Bob. Screw the Falcons. They're 6-3. They're thinking they're going to win the division. Let's take it to them and knock them down a peg. Make sure that they don't gain more confidence and become a threat to do anything in the NFL this year. That's how I think fans will approach it. And therefore, I think the Dome will be okay on Sunday. I don't think it'll be full, and I don't think it'll be at full throat, but I think it'll be okay. I think Saints fans want to beat the Falcons. But as I sit back and look at it, if I'm a Saints fan, which I'm not living, eating, breathing like y'all are, I'm okay with losing any of the rest of them because I want to be in position to draft a quarterback. I want to be in position to draft a game changer at the top of the draft. I want to be picking in the top 3 or 4. I know this quarterback class doesn't look great. And some sort of tank job for Cam Ward or Carson Beck or Quinn Ewers doesn't sound super appetizing the way that those guys have played or the way that those guys look as prospects. There's not a Joe Burrow staring you right in the face. There's not an Andrew Luck staring you right down the face. There's not a Caleb Williams staring you right down the face. So I get it. And maybe the Saints don't draft a quarterback first. But we understand that the only way the Saints have out of this is to draft. And the only way to draft is to get good picks. You can't bank on hitting on a bunch of 30th overall and 6 rounders. Put me up at the front. And you're right. If you're questioning whether or not this Saints brass, this Saints administration, this Saints executive team, this Saints front office, you're right if you say, well, look at their draft history. It's not even any good. What do I care? But it's the only way. It's the only way to make this work. So I'm certainly not telling you, as I've said many times, I'm not telling you how to feel. I'm never going to tell a fan how to feel. That's not changeable. You feel how you feel. My job is often to offer a perspective and see if I can't give you some more information or something that's a little bit more objective. And to me, 4-14 is not the end of the world. You just don't want to go 8-9. 4-5 I can't. That just doesn't work. It's 4-13.
Yeah,
you had them forever.
Yeah.
I knew 13-3. I knew 4. Like you had the 16 forever. Bump it up to 17, and I just become a disaster.
Math is just
I just become a disaster. But like you don't want to go 500. If the bottom's going to fall out, and you're going to trade Marshawn Lattimore, and you're going to fire the coach, and most of the staff's not going to be back, like, okay, this is what we're doing. So maybe some advice on how I read it as a Saints fan. If you show up on Sunday with hate in your heart for the Atlanta Falcons, that's respectable. And if the Saints get into a dogfight early in the fourth quarter and you're into it, that's respectable. Fine. If the Saints beat the Falcons, good. You beat the Falcons. That's always a good thing, right? And if you lose, not the end of the world. Kind of a good thing. Maybe just try to take the positives on either side. Am I speaking your language back, or is that ridiculous?
Well, it's not totally ridiculous, but there is a very large majority of the Saints fan base who they just want to beat the Falcons. They don't care what the outcome is. Like, the Saints haven't gotten swept by the Falcons since 2016. The last time was 2016. It's been a long time since they lost both of the Falcons. And if you want any evidence of whether or not the fans or the team are going to care about it, even when it doesn't matter, just look at the last game last year. They blew the doors off of it and scored that last touchdown, which might have been the death knell for Dennis Allen when he apologized.
Which is still crazy to me.
Yes, it is crazy. But that's just, if you just want any evidence of how much they care, no matter what the circumstance is. So yeah, man, if the Saints win this game, it's going to do a lot for the fans. And if they lose, a lot of fans are going to be, because like I know I have friends that are Saints fans and they hate nothing more than the Falcons.
Yeah,
so.
Look, it's interesting because I get that. I just can't quite put myself in those shoes because the Cubs losing 2 out of 3 to the Cardinals, like that doesn't really help my draft status.
No.
Like you're drafting a guy that's not going to be in the big leagues for 2 years anyway at best. So it's like I don't necessarily have that, and look, for LSU, it never helps to lose. So I don't. It's not exactly 1-to-1 with how I feel, but I get it. I understood completely T-Bob's stance this morning. Like, screw these guys, let's pee in their Cheerios. I get that completely. And if you're a Saints fan that says I hope they lose the rest of them and get rid of Mickey Loomis, like, I don't think you're crazy either. I think there's very little wrong way to feel here about this. But it's just a spot, like I said at the top, like the Saints haven't been in this spot in 2 decades. And so it'll be curious to see what that looks like. I want to talk to Luke Johnson in hour number 2 about the vibes that he's seen from the team this week. Again, I expect the Saints to play incredibly hard in this game. But they lose the game, not the end of the world. You're trying to get a good draft pick here. That's where it's got to start. Got to start in the draft. So we'll break down the Falcons a little bit more as we continue today and into tomorrow and how I think this game goes. Falcons are a 4-point favorite in the Dome. So Saints 2-7 on the season, 1-3 inside said Superdome. Come back and we'll do best win, worst loss, NFL and college football. Close up hour number 1. You're listening to a Thursday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Audio Video Security Solutions, AVSSLA.com is the website. Look, whole home audio, TV installation, video surveillance, they can do it all for you. They can also do, quote unquote, super fancy stuff. I tell you all the time about some of the stuff that they've got at my house, and I would not call that super fancy. We've got some great speakers that are wired into the kitchen and out back that are awesome. Our security system has been great as well, but they can go a lot further than all that. They can do voice automation. They can have you walk into your living room and say, hey, watch a movie. And the blinds will come down and the TV will come on and the lights will dim. And you can do all sorts of things from a voice automation perspective. We didn't do that in the Palmer house. Doesn't mean you can't. And if you have no idea what the capabilities are from that perspective, just start the process with Mitchell Fisher. This is his cell phone. He's the owner of the company. Here's how you get in touch with him. You call 225-439-7920. That's 225-439-7920. Give him a call and say, hey, Mitchell, I'm interested in the voice automation and getting my home entertainment system set up. He'll come over. You'll have a consultation with him. You're off and running. We've done it. We love the consultation. We love the installation. And the customer service has been fantastic as well. Check him out online at avssla.com. Audio Video Security Solutions. avssla.com.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
Join us at Pro Dreams in Mandeville for our special event, A Day of Champions. Meet LSU National Championship winning head coaches Jay Johnson, Skip Bertman, and Paul Maneri. Don't miss your chance to purchase authentic sports memorabilia, autographed by the champions themselves. It's the perfect opportunity to celebrate LSU baseball and take home a piece of history. Visit pro-dreams.com to get your tickets. See you there.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire...
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
.104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge and Citizens Bank and Trust are bringing you the ultimate holiday gift with our Home for the Holiday sweepstakes. Imagine 2025 with your rent or mortgage covered up to $18,000. We're here to make your holidays a whole lot brighter. Just sign up at 1045ESPN.com and you could be living stress-free next year. The winner will be notified on December 20th.
All right, some breaking news earlier today from Gainesville, Florida. Scott Strickland and the Florida Athletic Department put out a statement confirming that Billy Napier will be back as the head coach of Florida next year, which is odd. You don't get that a lot in early November. That's more of an after-the-season type thing, usually. But we all know that Billy Napier has been embattled since he showed up in Gainesville, Florida. They got a huge win in his opener against Utah in the Swamp. And you're thinking, okay, that's pretty impressive. He's got to get some recruits in there because that wasn't necessarily awesome under Dan Mullen, and all those guys have kind of moved on. But Napier will get this thing rolling once he gets his guys in there. And quite frankly, he has not. He went 6-7 his first year. He went 5-7 last year, and I think most people would suggest he's going to go under 500 this year. Still got a trip to play Texas. They still play Ole Miss, they still play LSU, and they still have a game with Florida State. They're 4-4. His record over 3 seasons in Gainesville is 15-18. He is 8-13 in league play. It would not surprise anyone if Billy Napier finishes year 3 in Florida at 8-16 in league play. That takes a loss at Texas. It takes a loss against Ole Miss at home and a loss against LSU at home. He may win 2 of them, for all I know. DJ Lagway is now questionable for the game on Saturday, and maybe they win the game. But I don't think Florida's all that great. They've played better lately. But you're talking about a team that, you know, a program that is one of the most prideful in America, that has multiple national championships in this century, and that has fallen on really, really hard times. And it's likely to be 3 straight losing seasons for Billy Napier. But Florida feels the need to extend him. I don't know why they're doing that. I don't know if it's because the buyout, which is high 8 figures. I don't know if it's because they really do trust that he's doing things the right way. I don't know if it's because they think that he hasn't been given all the resources early in his time to get things done, and they're just now getting to that. I don't know if it's because they want to keep DJ Lagway around. I don't know if it's because they want to keep this recruiting class
That's what I was
signing
thinking.
around.
Yeah.
Are we really keeping a coach around for DJ Lagway? It's not like he's putting up Johnny Manziel and, Jameis Winston freshman numbers. He's been okay. He's certainly not a guy right now that I'm going to bet my entire program on. So it's just a very interesting timing for this with Scott Strickland and Billy Napier. And I don't know if I do know this. Florida fans are not super happy about it. I've seen a lot of that on social media and on message boards that have been screenshotted and put up. But it's going to be interesting. What do you think this means for the crowd in the Swamp next weekend when LSU goes to Florida?
I don't know that it's going to matter that much. I know that. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of people.
Do you think it'll be good?
No, I think it'll be pretty good. I do. It's a rivalry game. LSU Florida is a big game for both teams. So I would expect it to be a pretty good crowd.
What if they lose by 40 tomorrow or Saturday against Texas?
That will definitely dampen the spirits, I think, a little bit. But we'll see.
We will see. All right, best win, worst loss on the board. We'll start in college football. I think the best win on the board in college football is Ole Miss. You're talking about a program that had massive expectations, fall flat on your face against Kentucky, can't finish the game against LSU, and you feel like you're probably out of it. But since then, they've come back to work, and they've played pretty well. They go drub Arkansas last week, and now you've got Georgia coming to you. And if you can win this game, I think Ole Miss will go to Florida and win. I think they'll beat Mississippi State. I think that Ole Miss, if they win this game, is going to be in the playoff at 10-2. That's just my feeling. That's why I think it's the biggest win. You could probably put them in worst loss because that means they're out, and now they're going to have to restock all the shelves once again. But I think it's best win on the board, Ole Miss over Georgia. Worst loss, I haven't done this before in this segment, but I'm going to do it now. Just the loser of LSU-Bama. Just probably not the worst loss. That's probably something like Penn State losing to Washington at home is kind of choking. But I think these two teams feel like they should be playoff teams, felt like in August they should be playoff teams, and the loser's not. And that's going to be a really hard pill to swallow, either if it's LSU in year 3 under Brian Kelly, that you're not going to make a 12-team playoff, or Kalen DeBoer in year 1 in Tuscaloosa, losing his 3rd game in early November. That just doesn't happen there very often. So to me, that's the worst loss in college football. Best win in the NFL bet, get ready for it, baby.
I think I know what it's going to be.
Cincinnati Bengals at the Ravens. Huge win tonight if they can score it. The Ravens, while I think we all believe they're really good, the old Bill Parcells saying, like, you are what your record says you are. And if the Bengals can find a way to beat the Ravens tonight, the record will say the Ravens are 6-4 and the Bengals are 5-5, and the tiebreaker is split currently.
Yep.
Which is not that big a hole for the Bengals to clear out of. And we thought that the Browns would be good this year. Great defense, Deshaun Watson coming back, shaking off the rust. Well, they stink. And I don't think anybody truly trusts the Steelers. So you pretty much, you almost draw even if you can win tonight. Now, if you lose tonight and the Bengals go to 4-6 and the Ravens go to 7-3 and they have the tiebreaker, we'll turn out the lights on the division at that point. But best win, if the Bengals can go and do it. And then worst loss on the board in the NFL, another team that had expectations and has fallen short of those to this point is the Chicago Bears. They are 4-4. They have not lost at home yet. They've got a home game, and the lowly old Patriots are coming in. Cannot lose to the lowly old Patriots, because coming up for the Bears, Packers, Vikings at the Lions, at the Niners, at the Vikings, Lions. Then you got Seahawks and Packers on the road to finish. Like, that is murderous for the Bears. They have got to win this game against the Patriots. So that would be the worst loss on the board. Best win in college football, Ole Miss over Georgia. Worst loss, the loser of LSU and Bama. Best win in the NFL, the Bengals at the Ravens tonight. Worst loss, Bears at home against the Patriots. That's it for hour number 1, presented by Rouse's on Thursdays. When we come back in hour number 2, I'll talk about Alabama's playmakers. Still got to chat with our guy Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, as well. Don't go anywhere. Sports Center, then back with more Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com is the website. When you think Genesis of Baton Rouge, you should think luxury. When you think luxury, don't just say, oh, I can't afford that. Luxury at a reasonable price. There are a lot of options in the luxury vehicle market, and you know the usual suspects. Add Genesis to your list. The line of vehicles is so sleek, so stylish, so comfortable. They drive wonderfully. They are so safe. And the experience of being a Genesis driver is truly special. How about 10 years, 100,000-mile warranty? How about 3 years of complimentary maintenance? Valet complimentary maintenance. That's what they'll do for you at Genesis of Baton Rouge. They're on Airline at Pico, right across from Women's Hospital. Get on by the dealership or check out their line of vehicles online. You can do that at genesisofbatonrouge.com. It's Genesis of Baton Rouge online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram can get you in a new 2024 Ram 1500 truck for only $32,898. $32,898 for a new Ram 1500 truck. All new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a complimentary 7-year powertrain warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared toward seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
BRAC teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. BRAC, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family.
This is SportsCenter.
I'm Doug Brown. An AFC North matchup tonight to kick off Week 10 in the NFL. The Ravens hosting the Bengals. ESPN's Dan Orlovsky.
It's a much bigger game for the Bengals, right? Because they're behind the 8 ball when it comes to wins and losses.
Yeah.
It's also a big game for Baltimore defensively. Baltimore is unbelievably explosive offensively. It's hard for me to sit there and say that they're in that top 2 or 3 group when I've watched this defense this year.
Dan Orlovsky on Get Up. ESPN's Jeremy Fowler reports Ravens running back Keaton Mitchell should come off the PUP list for tonight's game. He hasn't played since a torn left ACL last December. Panthers running back Chuba Hubbard will sign a 4-year contract extension with the team. ESPN's David Newton reports the deal is worth $33 million. Florida Gators athletic director Scott Strickland says head coach Billy Napier will stay on the job next season. The Gators are 4-4 this year, 15-18 overall under Napier, who's now in his 3rd season in Gainesville.
Hey, it's your resident Super Bowl champ, Chris Candy, coming on Friday. I'll tell you why a good performance by Cooper Rush and a win by the Cowboys won't be a good look for Dak and his legacy. It's unsportsmanlike, 6 a.m. Eastern, right here on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and ESPNU.
Now, The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boy, does it smell good.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets on 104.5 ESPN, Baton Rouge.
That's good.
Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio, this is Hunt Palmer.
Hour 2, Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Rouse's Markets. Going to chat with Chris Blair coming up in 15 minutes. We will, of course, talk with Luke Johnson coming up at 2:30. Luke out covering the New Orleans Saints. They kind of moved their schedule around a little bit with his coaching change and got Rizzy wanting to do things a little bit differently than Allen did, so they're practicing a little different time, and the viewership's a different time. And Luke couldn't join us in his normal segment at 1:15, but going to be able to chat with him at 2:30, so excited to hear from Luke down there in Saints country. I want to talk about Alabama's weapons at this point, and it's an offense that has been pretty productive for a lot of the year. They struggled to get out of neutral against Tennessee, but candidly, I think Tennessee's really good on defense. No one has scored 20 points on Tennessee all season long, and I think that's a product of a really good defense. They've got a great pass rusher. They've recruited pretty well at the linebacker spot, and their secondary is much improved from what it was just a couple of years ago when they just weren't very athletic in the secondary. But they're better, and they held Alabama in check for a lot of that game. But Bama's done some really good things in a lot of the other games that they've played. We're going to talk about Milroe in a second. We've talked about him a lot this week, but I wanted to talk about Ryan Williams. I know that everyone talks about Ryan Williams. I know that you're sick of hearing that he's 17 years old, and I don't really care that he's 17-year-old, and I don't really think it's that big a deal that he's only 17 years old. I mean, what's the difference between a guy who's 17-year-old and 8 months opposed to 18 years old and 7 months? When you're a freak athletically, you're just a freak athletically, and I'm not minimizing the ability for development in your late teen years. That certainly does happen, but this guy's been a stud, and I'm pretty confident if you took Leonard Fournette at the same age, he could have gone in there and run the ball pretty well too. I mean, there's just some guys that are just different, and not all of them are like that, but Ryan Williams certainly is. And when you look at him and you watch the highlight reel of his plays this year, I can't name every wide receiver in the SEC, but I feel comfortable telling you that he is the best stop and start wide receiver in the SEC. I don't know them all. I haven't seen them all, haven't watched highlights of them all, don't need to. Because his ability to stop and start is unlike anything that I watch week to week. And I watch all of LSU's opponents multiple times just to try to get a sense for what I'm talking about here on the radio and what I'm going to do on the pregame show. And so when he gets the ball in his hands, he's very difficult to tackle. And that's going to be a huge key for LSU in this game, that he's going to make some catches. It just is what it is. But you've got to tackle him when he does. If you let him juke and stop and start and back up, I mean, you all know the play that he makes to win the Georgia game, and he catches it and does that like stop, reverse spin move, and 2 Georgia guys go flying out of the screen, and he turns it up the field and runs it in for a touchdown. That is his superpower. He's not big. He's 6 feet tall and 175 pounds. He is plenty fast, but I don't watch him and think that I'm looking at Jalen Waddle. Like, he's fast, way fast. But it's that's not his defining characteristic. It's the suddenness and the quickness. And I'm just curious how LSU plans to combat that. Now, Williams has not been like an 11-catch-a-game guy. I can rattle off the numbers for you. I mean, Western Kentucky had 2, South Florida 4, Wisconsin 4, Georgia 6 for 177 yards, including the 75-yarder. And that was probably his best game. But he had 3 against Vanderbilt, 4 against South Carolina, 8 against Tennessee, 4 against Missouri. It's not that he's cramming the stat sheet. He's got 35 catches on the year for 702 yards and 7 touchdowns. But it's the game-breaking ability because of that talent that you got to worry about. And Zy Alexander is LSU's best corner. And I was thinking today, and I heard Jacob Hester talking about this on their Monday show. Do you want to send Zy Alexander wherever he goes? And my answer is probably not. I think they'll see each other a good bit, but I'm assuming that LSU is probably going to play a lot of zone coverage in this game. That's my assumption. Because last year LSU played a ton of man against Alabama, specifically Milroe, and all the DBs had their heads turned trying to cover, and Milroe just started running, and LSU never adjusted to it and never fixed it. And the best way to have eyes on him and make sure that he can't do that as often is to play zone. Now, Alabama can theoretically find some creases in that zone and get some easy completions. But I would probably rather take my chances with Milroe sitting in the pocket, trying to find the windows in a zone, than I would letting him let his instincts take over and let him run. And I'd really rather not spend a ton of time trying to cover Ryan Williams man-to-man. So my guess is that LSU is going to play a significant amount of zone. Now, Blake Baker likes to play man. Corey Raymond loves to play man. So maybe I'm dead wrong and LSU sticks to their guns. But you have an extra week to prepare for this game, and I'm just kind of looking at it going, might be a spot to go ahead and play a little bit more zone, not necessarily travel Zy Alexander all over the field trying to stay in front of Ryan Williams. The second guy that you've got to worry about in the passing game is Jeremy Bernard. And he's got 30 catches to Williams' 35. He's got 460 yards to Williams' 702. He's got 2 touchdowns to Williams' 7. He's very clearly the second option at wide receiver for this team, but he's been pretty good. And then after that, it's really C.J. Dupree, the tight end, who's catching less than 2 balls per game. All the receiving comes from Williams and Bernard. But they're good, and they make you hurt. And LSU's going to have to cover those guys, but they've done a pretty good job of that. It's the running game where I look at it and I say, this is where LSU really needs to step up and play much better than they did 2 weeks ago. That's an obvious thing to say, but it is key because you've got 3 threats in the run game that you've got to account for. It's Milroe, who leads the team in rushing attempts. It's Jam Miller, who leads them as far as running backs go. And then Justice Haynes will carry the ball as well. Jam Miller is not Derrick Henry. I don't know that he's Josh Jacobs. But I don't think he's Trent Richardson as far as the college level goes. But he's plenty talented, and he can get through a hole and go. And as you would imagine, you're not assuming that Alabama is going to come out there with some subpar talent at running back. He's not the size and stature of some of those guys they've had, maybe not as draftable as some of the guys they have, but he's a good player. I was curious to see that Milroe leads the team in rushing attempts, 102 to Miller's 74. And then when you look at the rushing touchdowns, Jalen Milroe has 12 rushing touchdowns, and Jam Miller and Justice Haynes have combined for 12 rushing touchdowns. So the quarterback has run for as many touchdowns as the two running backs combined. When they get into the red zone, Alabama loves to call these quarterback sweeps, where they get Milroe in the shotgun and just start running him a convoy right or a convoy left. That's worked very well. LSU's going to have to find a way to step up and make that stop. It's not a team that terrifies you with skill position players in the way that Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle and Jerry Jeudy and that crew did. I don't know right now in terms of volume that Ryan Williams is quite what Amari Cooper or Julio Jones was in their apex in college, but he's on that trajectory. It's a good offense. Alabama moves the ball. They've scored some points, and they're going to move the ball and score some points on Saturday. It's just a matter of LSU finding a way to find some big stops and coming up with a game plan to, one, keep Ryan Williams from getting the ball and then making guys miss, and two, keeping Jalen Milroe fairly contained, which some teams have done, some teams have done. We've brought this up a number of times, but in the best games Alabama has played offensively, Milroe has run the ball and been great. In the games where Alabama has struggled, Milroe has been bottled up. And I talked about this on a radio spot I did for our Southwest Louisiana friends a little bit earlier today. But, I don't expect a stat line for Jalen Milroe in the rushing department against LSU like we saw against Tennessee, 14 carries for 11 yards. Like Vanderbilt, 7 carries for 10 yards. That seems unlikely to me. But if you can make it similar to Missouri, 11 attempts, 50 yards, 1 touchdown. If that's his final score, rushing, I think LSU's okay. And I think zone coverage has something to do with that. And I think that theoretically keeps Ryan Williams in front of you for much of the night. That's kind of my 2 cents on how I think Blake Baker will handle it. But again, it's completely counterintuitive to what he generally does. He is a man-to-man, heavy blitz coordinator, and he's got a home crowd behind him on Saturday. Maybe they stick to that. I would just be a little nervous to do that against this group because they can make big, big plays on you if you get out of position or try to man these guys up one-on-one. Just my thoughts on this Alabama offense here on this Monday. If you're looking for LSU sports content, Monday, on this Thursday, looking for LSU sports content, you can find it on our YouTube channel, Hunt on LSU. Hunt on LSU. All of our LSU football content posted there each and every day. I always appreciate when you subscribe to the channel, like, comment, rate, review. That helps us get our content in front of as many people as we possibly can. So thanks to you all for doing that each and every day. Step aside for a timeout. Chris Blair, the voice of the Tigers, next.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Evolve Physical Therapy in Sports. EvolvePT.com is the website. If you're hurt, Robbie Bolton and his team are here to help. You can check out their facility, state of the art, right there on Starring near Highland Road behind Sammy's Grill. They've got all the capabilities for you, and expert physical therapist at your beck and call. It's not going to be one of those deals where you sit there and you get a printout and they say, hey, do some stretching here and let's know how you feel in an hour. Your physical therapist is going to be hands-on, making sure you're getting the rehabilitation you need so you can get back to being your active self. Youth athletes, I know it's football season. If there are some injuries here and there, they happen. You want to get back in time to play basketball? Well, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports can help you. There's no age requirement there. No limitations on age either. If you're 65 and want to get back out on the pickleball court, want to get back to running every day or playing golf, Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, here to help you as well. Check them out online, evolvept.com. It's Evolve Physical Therapy and Sports, evolvept.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary, for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
When you can't rely on technology, you can rely on Mountain Cold Refreshment.
Dave's back on.
Coors Light. Choose chill.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets, from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology, from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
The best. Brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Weekend is feeling within grasp here. Thursday afternoon edition of the Hunt Palmer Show, presented by Rouse's Markets. LSU basketball got a win last night. LSU football Saturday night in Death Valley against Alabama. Chris Blair on the call for all of it. Joins us every single Thursday. Does so now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Chris, how we doing?
Good, Hunt. Ready for a big weekend, man. It's been a busy week, exciting week, and again, it will culminate with a great weekend on campus. A couple of inter-squad baseball games Friday and Saturday morning. We got women's basketball Friday night, big night on Saturday, and then finish out with a little men's basketball on Sunday afternoon. So busy week, but hey, man, exciting when you get to be a part of all this.
You and Coach Brady able to find your seats last night okay? Back to business as usual?
Yep. We both remembered where we were supposed to be, and we didn't get moved, and so it made it a little easier for us. But I got to tell you, man, I know I saw you last night. And interested to get your thoughts when we get a chance. But, there's a couple of things I look for, and it's easy, Hunt, as I'm sure you've talked about, to see early exhibition games, early non-conference games, and everybody's excited about the start of the season, and that's natural. But I got to be honest with you. Matt's been telling me for months now that he really feels like he's got a roster that, again, can play the style he likes to play and what was successful at Murray State. But more importantly than that, he's talked about the commitment and the want to play defense. And to me, if you don't have a backcourt that is dedicated to playing defense, which is with as many as great guards there are in this league, and for that matter, college basketball, I think you're going to struggle as a team. And the two games, the exhibition and last night, what I liked more than anything else was the on-the-ball defense. There were a handful of open looks for ULM, which they made a decent team, by the way, look very bad. They hit some shots that were levels of difficulty like 10, 10.5, 11. And I just like that. I think if you can play defense, as Coach Brady says all the time, have defense, will travel. And I think that's the most optimistic thing I take away. I think it's a fun brand. I think they're going to get up and down the floor. I think they're going to put some points on the board. But if you want to win some games, you got to be dedicated to defense. And I like that early on.
Yeah, they were very intentional with the guys they brought in the portal. They brought them in to play defense, and they started last night. All three of the transfers, the guards they brought in, they all started, and they're all good defensive players. I was encouraged by the fact that LSU was able to score 95 points in a game where their starting point guard, Jordan Sears, basically sat the whole first half, and they didn't shoot it great from three. And so you're not going to get as many looks at the rim as you did in this game against great teams in the SEC, but they found different ways to do it when your point guard's out and you aren't shooting it great, which I think was encouraging to me offensively.
Absolutely. I mean, that's what Coach Brady kept talking about is, look, the question going into the game was, coming off the exhibition, is this a team that is comfortable taking 25, 30 threes a game or more? We still got a lot of basketball left, but I think we got a little bit of an insight. And Coach McMahon told me, hey, look, if we've got great ball reversal, if we get good penetration and kick out open threes, I'm not worried about. I'm worried about good three-pointers, not bad, contested, off-balance, falling away three-pointers. But by the same token, utilizing Jalen Reed's skill set, the way he's transformed his body, he's lean, he's strong, he's got a good handle, and he's not a traditional back-to-the-basket inside player. But I like him out top, bringing their big out and then breaking him down on the dribble and getting to the rim as many times as he did. So I think they did a good job of, yes, not every night are those threes going to go down, but it wasn't as if that was the only shot they were taking all night. And the other part was the team rebounding, the mentality of this team to get to the glass. I mean, again, as I said, I think they made a really good ULM team that might make some noise in the Sun Belt this year, and a very good rebounding team, basically one and done all night. So, again, the defense and the rebounding, when you're taking on the teams that LSU is going to face, especially in this high-flying SEC, will give you a chance in a lot of matchups.
Let's talk some football. LSU and Bama Saturday night in Death Valley. I'm curious your thoughts on LSU's ability against Jalen Milroe to figure something out, because they never quite did last year in Tuscaloosa, and we know what happened in College Station in the second half last week. So kind of what's your thoughts on that matchup and what problems Milroe presents?
I've been having this conversation with myself quietly in my head, Hunt, which is a dangerous thing to do, about have we seen quarterbacks who, again, are a threat to run? And the answer is obviously yes. And we've done pretty well, minus one half of football at Texas A&M, where, again, it almost just seemed like we weren't able to switch the game plan for the two styles. And I think Coach Kelly maybe said that as much on Monday. We were running right by Marcel Reed. We had plenty of a surge in the backfield. We just weren't going where the ball was. But we've done pretty good against some pretty good running quarterbacks. Now, I'm not comparing them to Jalen Milroe. When he is on, he is certainly a highlight player in college football. And I listened to the players this week, some of the defensive guys, you were there, talk about, again, they can't change their mode. And their mode has been aggressive. I mean, that's pretty obvious with Coach Baker, and I think what Kevin Peebles has done with both Swinson and Savion Jones. So they're still going to have to get some pressure. The fine line to me is, can you keep him in the pocket and force him to get that happy foot to maybe speed up the process a little bit? Because I think he's dangerous when he's able to move the pocket and get out and run. And goodness knows he's awfully deadly when he decides nothing downfield, let's tuck and go. I mean, he's just a gifted athlete in that way. So I think there's a fine balance there. But I go back to the way they have played at times against that style of quarterback. I think we have some proof that they can defend that pretty well. Tackling is going to be key. And again, I think if they can just get him in some positions where he's not able to move the pocket too far and he's got to stand in there, wait a little bit, that's when, at least I've seen this year, he tends to make mistakes. Now, all of that's a lot easier said than done, but I think that's the key, because he looked very impressive. He's kind of been inconsistent. He's thrown some interceptions that are kind of head scratchers, but he looked pretty good against a decent or pretty good Missouri team, and they just throttled him.
I know your partner Jacob Hester on the network has talked a lot about C.J. Daniels on our airways and just how important he is. He's questionable for this game, but when he's right and he's in there, what have you all seen from him, and what has Jake kind of talked about on the broadcast about why he adds such a different dimension to the offense?
Yeah, I think CJ is key because he's just that possession receiver, Hunt. And, when you have a team that has the inability for the most part of this season to be able to establish a consistent running game, it's not as if LSU hasn't been one-dimensional a lot of times this year on the offensive side. The difference in College Station, especially in the second half, once the momentum went going, Texas A&M stuck with, for the most part, let's put our front four, disrupt the offensive line, the offensive backfield, and then we'll put 7 in coverage. And that gives us a better chance of not letting somebody beat us in the passing game. And it took away, without C.J. Daniels, frankly, I think that extension of the running game through the short passing game, because he's sure-handed. He knows where to come back. For a guy who transferred in, I think he and Garrett Nussmeier, along with the other receivers, have done a good job of kind of knowing where they need to be. And for me, that was kind of what was missing in College Station was, again, we couldn't run the ball. We couldn't run between the tackles. We didn't try a whole lot to get outside. But I think some of that was we've relied on the short passing game to kind of fill that void. But without a guy like that, I think you're missing something big. I was certainly hopeful on Monday when Coach Kelly said that, again, he was looking or feeling better than he was the Monday before the A&M game, but who knows what it means based on that availability report. But I think he's huge because I'd love to see LSU suddenly find the running game, but I think, going into game 9 of the season, we kind of know what they are. And as I said, South Carolina tried to go with front 4. Ole Miss tried early to go with their front 4. Eventually they had to call on some other numbers to try to get some blitz packages going, and Garrett and his receivers were able to pick them apart as the game went on. Give Texas A&M credit. They were able to do it most of the night. Can Alabama's front 4 do that? I guess that, to me, is the crux of the game on Saturday.
In my first segment on Tuesday, I said I got 8 more hours on this show to talk about this game, and we're going to talk about every single matchup there is. But I want to start with just the one thing that I think is most key, and that's Garrett Nussmeier. I don't think LSU is going to run it for 260 and 4 touchdowns on Saturday. He's going to have to be really good for LSU to beat good teams, and he has been at times. And then there have been times where he's turned the ball over. I just see Nussmeier as the guy that's got to be great for LSU to win games like this. He doesn't necessarily have to be great for you to beat Arkansas, but he's got to be great for you to beat teams like Alabama and to beat Ole Miss, and he was at the end of that game. So do you see it that way?
Don't forget about Vandy, too, coming up.
Yeah, it's true. Great team.
No, in all seriousness, yes. But I also fall into that same category as, that was the first time this season, and I'll be honest, that I saw the left side of that offensive line for LSU get whipped.
Yeah.
Again, going back to when the worm turned on that interception, setting them up at the 8-yard line, and then suddenly, boom, they're right back in it, and the crowd's back in it. From that moment on, the offensive line didn't do him any favors. Again, he made some decisions that I'm sure he will certainly admittedly say, I should have held the ball, should have thrown it away, should have done whatever. I think he has to be solid in these big-time games, but he has to get a little bit of help. Yeah. And I don't know where that comes from. But as I've said many times this week, we've seen teams try that approach, and they haven't been able to do it. And I think, and not to put all of it on the offensive line, but they're going to have to keep him clean. They're going to have to keep him upright. And I thought, even when they designed sprint out runs to the right, which he's been so good at all season, against Texas A&M, it was like whether it was a design sprint out or not, he had to run because as soon as the ball was snapped, backside pressure was coming. And I just think he was uncomfortable, basically. So, yeah, I think that's the offense. It's this receiving core and Garrett Nussmeier, and that's their strength. And we'll have to play that strength against the good Alabama team if you hope to win. And frankly, guys, I'm looking forward to it's Kalen DeBoer's Alabama.
Yeah.
And depending on what happens Saturday, I hope LSU gets up big. I hope they stay up big, and I hope they steamroll them right out of Baton Rouge. No question about it. But ever how the game ends, if LSU wins it, there's no need to rush the field. This is not beating Nick Saban's Alabama. This is Kalen DeBoer's Alabama. And I think it would be, and again, I hope the Tigers win. It's going to be a tall challenge. Alabama may be getting better at the end of the season, all that stuff. But let's start the tone that when you come to Baton Rouge, I don't care what Vegas says. I don't care what the favorite is. Alabama, when they come to Baton Rouge, they should expect to lose. And I know that's been a tough thing for a lot of years. But if you win on Saturday night, that's what's supposed to happen. And I think it's a chance to kind of turn that narrative going back over a decade. And I hope that's what we see Saturday night.
We sure hope so. We'll see. There's signs of a big football weekend coming. I saw tents on the way up when I was headed into to work this morning, and certainly the Brian Kelly Show tonight at TJ Ribs should have a great crowd full of purple and gold as well. You can listen to that on the LSU Sports Radio Network, Eagle 98.1 here in Baton Rouge. Chris, thanks for the time, sir.
You got it. Yeah, sounds like from what I saw earlier today, their report should be a wild one at Tiger Stadium on Saturday.
It is going to be a wild one. Appreciate that, and we'll talk. We'll catch up soon.
All right, man.
He's Chris Blair. When we come back, Luke Johnson on the Saints, the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Boudreaux's Electrical Services. Boudreaux'sElectrical.com is the website. Neil and Melissa have been running things 40 years down there in Napoleonville. You do something for 40 years, you're probably doing it right. There's no probably about it. If you're in the market for a Generac home standby generator to make sure that you've got the peace of mind and know your power is not going to go out, you need to get on the phone with Boudreaux's Electrical Services. You can check them out online, Boudreaux'sElectrical.com. Give yourself the peace of mind to know power's not going out on you. Storms happen all the time. We get them in the middle of the summer. We had a potential one to come ashore here in November. It's half the year. Give yourself the peace of mind to know that those storms are not going to knock your power out. If you work from home, you can't afford to have that power going out. You can't be productive. Get that Boudreaux's Electrical home standby generator from Generac installed as quickly as you can. Give them a call at 985-397-1562, 985-397-1562, or 225-300-9389, 225-300-9389. That's the Gonzales location, or as I've told you, Boudreaux'sElectrical.com.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Gold. Breck, your #1 park system in the nation.
Jerry and Benny Payne began Central Plumbing Company out of their driveway in Tanglewood subdivision. 50 years later and 4 generations down the road, we continue to serve Baton Rouge and the surrounding areas for all of their plumbing needs. Residential, commercial, industrial, or hospitality, Central Plumbing is here 24/7, 365.
We want to thank our customers, family, and friends for 50 years of success.
And looking forward to 50 more.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs, even in the case of an after-hours emergency. The light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always custom.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Chugging right along here on a Tuesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show. Brought to you by Rouse's. Rouse's, the official supermarket of the New Orleans Saints. Speaking of those New Orleans Saints, Luke Johnson covers them. Or the Advocate joins us every single Thursday. Does so now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Luke, it's been a week since we talked. Anything new?
Yeah, here and there, a couple things changed. You want to talk about it?
Yeah, let's talk about it. When you walked out of the building on Sunday in Charlotte, did you think the end was coming?
Yes. I will tell you that my colleagues and I, after I went through the locker room, honestly, I kind of figured it after the game, and then it really was cemented for me after I talked to the players in the locker room after the game. I was just like, there's no chance that this can continue. It's literally Sunday night, my colleagues and I started putting together the plan for how we were going to cover the Saints letting go of their head coach. Literally, Rod Walker wrote a whole story about Darren Rizzi being the interim head coach Sunday night. So, it just seemed like the obvious foregone conclusion, even if maybe Mickey Loomis didn't want to do it mid-season. It just felt like something they had to do.
When did that start? When did the fracture start?
I think this is we're talking about like the accumulation of 3 years of evidence, right? So I think if you're talking about when it started in the fan base, that was year one, right? And then last year was a little bit better, but I think people were looking at this year as kind of like the ultimatum or the I can't really think of the right word for it, but this was the year that was going to prove whether he was the guy for the job or not. Obviously the circumstances this year have been less than ideal. Their quarterback got hurt. They've had injuries all along the offense. But I really think that this was something that was really a realistic scenario, kind of starting with that Broncos loss, which was what I think the fifth straight. I don't know. I lose track of how many games they've lost in a row here, but I think that was really when he was kind of starting to be on thin ice. And then when you lose to a team that was 2-15 last year, started 1-7 this year, in the game where you got your quarterback back, it was just time. There was really no coming back from that. Even if he would have stayed on for the rest of the year, even if they would have turned things around, I think they would have had a really, really hard time holding on to him after this.
You knew this was coming. As far as the Marshawn Lattimore trade goes, though, did that signal to you a transition in the organization, or was that something that the writing was on the wall when they restructured that contract?
Well, we all thought that this was a possibility this offseason. I don't think anybody was really expecting it to happen before, during the draft or anything like that. Even though there were rumors about it, it just wouldn't have made sense from a salary cap standpoint. They would have had to eat a big poison pill this year. Just wouldn't have been able to do it. But as the season kind of started to go downhill, as they've kind of clearly looking at some sort of a rebuild, whether it's a hard one or a soft one. I don't know what kind of value that guy's going to offer throughout that sort of a reset. And this is clearly a team that needs some young talent. They're going to need to address their salary cap issue. And while it doesn't really do much for next year, they're going to have to eat a $31.6 million dead cap hit next year. They do have his salary coming off the books for the next two seasons. And even if things were to go really well, right, and they reset and they rebuild and in 2 years they're really good, then he's a 30-year-old player who's in need of a new contract. He's probably not going to be part of your long-term future. So you might as well get some draft assets for him. And frankly, getting a third and a fourth is really, really good. I mean, Jalen Ramsey was 2 years ago a much better player than Marshawn is right now. A guy who's been on the field a lot. He made a bunch of Pro Bowls, made all-pro teams, and he got a third. So to get a third and a fourth, I think was a real big thing for the Saints.
Are there any other players on this roster that, and obviously the trade deadline's come and gone, that the Saints may be able to get assets for, or is that kind of the end of the line and now you just got to figure out how to use the draft capital that you got?
Yeah, I mean, I really think that was kind of the end of the road. If for whatever reason, I think if you're looking at who they could trade and get good assets back for, I mean, sure, you could trade Chris Olave, you could trade Alontae Taylor, but those are guys who if you're going to do a reset rebuild, those are guys who can be part of your long-term vision for the franchise. They're still very young. I think both are still under 25. Yeah, those are guys who, if you hit on a couple guys in the next couple of years, you sign them to big contracts, and they're a big part of your team moving forward. Outside of that, I don't think there's really any tradable assets on this team. Most of their core players are in their 30s, and guys who are at their end of their career. So really, to me, this just needs to be a team that needs to kind of clean up this cap issue over the next couple of years as much as they can, and really nail these drafts. It's the only way they're going to get their way out of it.
They've got to nail the drafts. There's no question about it. As far as this team goes, does Darren Rizzi's breath of fresh air and some guys coming back from injury make this a competitive team for whatever that means the next 8 weeks?
I mean, I think so. I don't think they're going to be the team that we've just seen lose 7 straight. I think there's definitely a burst of energy with him in the building, and it's just kind of changed the whole vibe. Look, the last 2 days, this is like really small stuff, and it might not mean anything, but like even like the playlist at practice has been different, right? And you ask about it, and it turns out he's turned over like the aux cable to the defensive line room and the offensive line room, and they're all like they're playing Natasha Bedingfield Unwritten at practice because somebody wanted to submit that as a song for the playlist. So like it's small stuff like that where I think he's relating to guys maybe a little bit better than DA does. Maybe just gets them out of this like funk that they're in. And I don't think they're a 2-7 football team. Like they're definitely too talented for that, especially when they start getting some of these guys back from injury. I think we'll see them be at least competitive over this closing stretch of the season. Because I just like this doesn't feel like a team that necessarily quit. So I don't know. We'll see how that plays out, but I do think it'll be better under Rizzi.
What do you think the Dome will be like on Sunday? Falcons?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's a good question. I think if Dennis was still here, I think it would have been kind of an ugly scene there. And there still might be some of that. I suspect we'll see some bags on the heads. It's a 2-7 football team that's lost 7 straight. But I do think that the move was really well received from the fan base. They pretty much grown fed up with Dennis Allen. They had been for years. So maybe there'll be some excitement out there. I don't know. I'm really curious to see how that's going to look.
As am I. We'll see. Saints and Falcons coming at you from the Dome. Luke Johnson will be there. He's with us every Thursday. Thanks for a little bit of time today, man.
Yep, my pleasure, man.
Luke Johnson at @ByLukeJohnson on Twitter for all your Saints information. Always great with his time with us, so we appreciate some of that. I think the Dome would have been a toxic place on Sunday if Dennis Allen were still the head coach. Just immediate boos every time you have to punt or you give up a touchdown. It would have been toxic. And I think that you're giving the fan base a little bit of a breath of fresh air. I'm not suggesting if the Falcons get up 20-0 and the Saints have to punt the next series that it's going to be very pleasant in there. It's not. That's going to be a message to the ownership about what is going on with the executives, I think. But I think that the Saints fans that go to the game on Sunday want to beat the Falcons. I talked about this earlier on the show today. As someone who's kind of stepping back and removing themselves from it and looking at the big picture, I don't think a loss is the worst thing in the world. If you can draft second this year, draft second this year. But Saints fans want to beat the Falcons. I get it. And the Falcons are in town, and they think they're good, and you can knock them down a peg, and you don't have to worry about it saving Dennis Allen's job. So, yeah, get after it, Saints. So we'll see kind of what the environment looks like on Sunday, but we'll break the game down in its entirety tomorrow and give you my final pick for it coming up on tomorrow's show. Step aside one more time, come back and close it out. It's a Thursday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Highland Insurance Group, HighlandIG.com is the website. Jonathan Carver and his team are fantastic to work with from an insurance perspective. I know. Insurance is not a fun thing to talk about, but it can be vitally important. When the wrong thing happens, whether that's a bad car accident, whether that is a hurricane, whether that's a cyber breach or a lawsuit involving an employee, if your business is not properly covered, you could be in big, big trouble. And you don't need to worry about that all the time. What you need to do is trust your insurance broker. Make sure your policies are properly put in place with the right markets at the right premium, and then go to work. And that's what you will do if you trust the Highland Insurance Group to handle your policies. If you're a business owner and you don't know what EPL insurance is or what the proper limits for umbrella are, That's okay. It's not part of your business, but it could be an issue if the wrong thing happens. Have someone on your team from an insurance broker standpoint that you can trust, that you can talk to, and that will put you in the right hands. Jonathan Carver and his team at the Highland Insurance Group are just that. If you're looking for a magic bullet that's going to cut 20% off your insurance premiums, this is not the call. That's not a possibility realistically in this market. But you can make sure that your coverages are right. And the Highland Insurance Group will do that for you. It's the Highland Insurance Group, highlandig.com.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
Gulf Coast Office Products is a nationally recognized Savin office equipment dealer based right here in Louisiana. Over 100 employees strong, Gulf Coast has the boots on the ground to support all vertical markets from education, engineering, legal, and finance. With the latest in office technology from desktop to production segment units, Gulf Coast and Savin have the perfect fit for you. Call 225-756-2644. That's 756-2644 for Gulf Coast Office Products.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Breck teamed up to reimagine your parks, and you imagined big. With your help, we went to work, creating 12 beautiful community parks across the parish. A family-sized water park, miles and miles of trails, and parks just for your dogs. There are more places to splash, to explore, to run wild, and even soar. You imagined, we delivered. Go.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show, brought to you by Rouse's Supermarkets.
Tune in Sunday for an NFL Week 10 triple header. First, the Bucks host the 49ers at noon, followed by the Eagles and Cowboys at 3:25 and the Lions and Texans at 7:20. Your home for the NFL is 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
I want to let you know about our programming for Fridays during football season. It's a football Friday here on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. A little bit of a tweak tomorrow. We'll start things off with Off the Bench, 7 to 10 a.m. Jacob and T-Bob getting you ready for the weekend in football with a lot of sports talk and some very much not sports talk, but that's Off the Bench. Then at 10 o'clock, straight up from Rufino's on Highland Road, it'll be live at lunch. Jimmy and Charlie, with all their help, will get you going for 3 hours there, 10 to 1 from Rufino's. I'm on from 1 to 3. Then Matt's on from 3 to 6 on After Further Review. Cade, we'll be here at 6 o'clock for Louisiana Prep Preview. No Catholic High football tomorrow. They'll actually play tonight against Zachary, so we'll have that on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge when it kicks off. But then Kate will step aside. They'll come back with Louisiana Prep Scoreboard at 10 o'clock. So a small break in local action because of no Catholic High tomorrow, but almost all the way from 7 a.m. to midnight tomorrow. We'll be live and local with all your football content. Very much looking forward to tomorrow's show as we get ready for LSU and Bama. Our Thursday shows are brought to you by Rouse's. Get on by Rouse's, Burbank and Lee. That's where I go. That's where our pregame show emanates from on Saturdays, and that's a great location for us. But there's a Rouse's location pretty well near you if you're in South Louisiana, all the way over to Gulf Shores, Alabama. If you're getting stuff for the tailgate, getting stuff to watch the games this weekend, get on by Rouse's. They have got everything that you need. And I always tell you to download the Rouse's app because a lot of folks don't love going to the grocery store, don't have time to go into the grocery store. You don't have to. You just do all your shopping right there on the app. Personal shopper will go in, do all that shopping. You just pull up right next to the front door. They walk it right out to you, drop it in the car. You are on your way. Makes grocery shopping so easy. Rouse's, this feels like home. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It and close it out, Beck.
All right, first one here. It was announced today, Paul Skeens and Livy Dunn together are going to be the College Game Day guest pickers on Saturday. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to take it. I think that
I'll take it.
I think that those two are a powerful brand for LSU. I don't know that Paul is the best on TV.
Yeah.
Livy's good. She's got a great personality. I don't know if she does anything about football, but she'll do it, and she'll do a good job. Paul's a little dry, but he's really good at pitching. But having those two guys, those two that have won national championships with LSU and have such a huge brand following nationwide is a good thing for LSU. I still wish it was Joe Burrow that they could convince to come down here. Doesn't feel like something Joe would be super keen on doing. He's kind of a get-to-work kind of guy, and I don't know that flying down to Baton Rouge to watch football on his mini bye week isn't necessarily all that he wants to do. He's going to play tonight. But I was hoping for Burrow. I was thinking that Dunn and Skeens were a chance to do it. I actually wrote a piece for LouisianaSports.net earlier this week that kind of gave the options for a College Game Day guest picker. And look, Paul Skeens and Livy Dunn were on that list. Credit to me for being incredible at predicting guest pickers. So it'll be Paul Skeens and Livy Dunn on Saturday morning.
All right, next one here, Juan Soto for the New York Yankees. His agent, Scott Boras, much maligned or infamous, if you will, for the way he handles his clients. But he said that Soto will be taking his time surveying the free agent market before signing with a team, I'm sure. The Cubs might be involved. Take it or leave it.
Leave it. No chance.
There's no chance.
No chance. They don't do that.
Do you think the Yankees will try? You think the Yankees will try to get him back though?
I think the Yankees will get him back.
Okay.
I think he loved it there. I think he wants to play there. But I think he got instructions from the Boras camp not to say anything after the season, and they asked him after the World Series, and he was like, "Well, I'm just going to go to the market." One thing that I hope that we avoid with Soto was that trend that we got into where you were getting deep into March and free agents weren't signing. We've stopped that a little bit, but it was just ridiculous. These deals used to get done at the winter meetings in December, and you were going 3 weeks, 4 weeks into spring training, and guys weren't signed yet. Let's not do that. Let's get the teams in place by the end of January.
Yeah.
Let's move forward.
All right, next one here. The St. Louis, it's following baseball. St. Louis Cardinals say that Wilson Contreras is making a permanent move to first base.
Wow.
We think that being such a productive hitter and not catching will make him a better hitter, their GM said, John Mozeliak said on Wednesday. Contreras at first base. Take it or leave it?
I'll leave it. I mean, he's not a great receiver, but he's a hell of a thrower.
Yeah.
And he's not an elite hitter that you would want at first base. You're looking at first base for somebody like Matt Olson to just go nuts and hit a bajillion home runs like Anthony Rizzo did for the Cubs over the years. Contreras is a 275, 24 homer guy, which is fine, but he's not a slugger. I think that's an average first baseman.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't know, but I mean,
what's Goldschmidt doing? Is he done?
That's a good question. They're not going to bring him back apparently.
Okay.
So that opens a spot there at first, but he's got a no trade clause and he's there through the next 3 seasons. So they had to figure something out. I guess that was the best option. But moving on, Joe Burrow will get the road win in Baltimore tonight. Take it or leave it.
I'm gonna leave that one.
Yeah.
I just don't love their chances. They played great in that game against Baltimore and should have won it in Cincinnati. I just don't love their chances going on the road to what I still think is one of the best teams in the NFL. I know the record doesn't suggest that, but I think they're really good, and I hope so. I'm going to be watching but I don't have supreme confidence. Although Joe Burrow's played well. It's going to need the rest of those guys to play pretty well. It is Lamar's damn good. It is frustrating watching the team that you're pulling for play against him because he's hard to tackle back there. He's really good from the pocket when he needs to be. He's just a nightmare to try to deal with. And the Bengals have done it a lot of times, so it's not going to be anything new to them, and it's just really, really difficult. And honestly, it kind of reminds me of watching the film I was watching of Jalen Milroe today. It's like, man, like you think you've got it, and then he's faster than your linebacker and gets the corner, and there he's got 20 yards. And it's tough. There's a reason he won the MVP last year. So I'm hopeful that my Bengals can get it done, but I'm not optimistic that they in fact will. That's it for a Monday edition. I've said Monday twice. It's like I just blurt out a word. I don't know how that happens.
Yeah.
It's very much not Monday. Just not even close to
Not
Monday.
even close.
Does it feel like Monday? I don't think it's Monday. I didn't do really anything today that I do on Monday. It's absurd. That's kind of loud. That's all right.
Sorry.
Missed any of the show today on Thursday. You can catch it on demand wherever you find your sound. Matt Moscona is going to drive you home coming up next with After Further Review. We'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place for a Friday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
Genesis of Baton Rouge, genesisofbatonrouge.com. Safety, big thing when you're shopping for a new vehicle. And I can promise you, if you get behind the wheel of a Genesis, you will have one of the safest cars on the road. The entire line, all of them, not like one that they specifically defined, all of them was on the IIHA top safety picks. And some of them were top safety picks plus. Every single model in the Genesis line, from the entry level to the highest end, has the same safety features. They take that incredibly seriously, as they should. It's the reason why you need to give Genesis a shot. If you've never seen a Genesis or not gotten behind the wheel of a Genesis, just try them out. Airline at Piku, across the street from Women's Hospital. It's a phenomenal facility, great brand ambassadors to work with, and they've got an incredible line of vehicles that you should definitely check out. Genesis of Baton Rouge. You can check them out online at genesisofbatonrouge.com.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep